Hello, good evening. You are on the Lifeboat. It's your captain speaking. Spanx Calhoun. Can I get a 5x5 to start out? How is everyone? How is everyone doing? It's a mighty fine Sunday evening. I'm always impressed how many people are here when I show up. What's going on, Jason P., West Coast Fancy Nancy, Mara, Ben Bacon Bits, Davey, made it back. Welcome back, Davey. Jamie Smith, Tara Smiling, Peggy Dooley, and Hummingbird, Charlie Mullins. Good to see y'all. Shannon Smith, Sweet Liberty, and Flaming Jackson. Got the gang's all here. Life is good. Crazy Brumfield. Janet G. Piano Mom. Valerie. Heck yeah, I hope everyone's having a great Sunday so far. Looks like we got the 5x5 and everything. Hey, and it's 7th Sun, baby. Let's go. Let's go. Well, I think today is going to be like my first real lifeboat. We're going to talk about some key concepts. Yeah, it's going to be great. We're going to have a lot of fun, but we're going to talk about some stuff that's important while we do it. So, or maybe the other way around, right? Talk about some important stuff and have fun. Wait, that's what I said. Anyways, you get it. Layla Bradley, good to see you. Chrissy Never Newton, Goosebump, Inappropriate Heifer, Moni, Miss Sunrise Dawn. I have not done anything with the wrenches yet. Just been doing all kinds of other stuff. I guess that leads me to my first thing. We got some housekeeping to get through on YouTube stuff. Hit that like, subscribe, and notification button. If you enjoy what we're doing here, come back. Let's do it again. And what was my housekeeping? I got a bunch of stuff done with pet pictures today. They are not up yet, but they are primed and ready. They're in the queue, so to speak. Did a lot of planning and thinking and organizing of things today. Did a couple quality of life updates to the Discord and just other stuff that we don't really need to talk about. But man, my brain is not good today. I would also like to offer opportunity at the beginning today, right now, for questions. If y'all caught my storytime vids, and I kind of told my story, the quick version. If anybody had questions after that weren't answered or weren't asked, I wanted to give y'all an opportunity right now to ask them. And no pressure. You can ask me later too. It's okay. But I wanted to say it out loud for this one. Yeah, Mara, Mara says she can't navigate the Discord at all. I have to say it's not the most intuitive app. In fact, it might be the least intuitive app. I know we got a bunch of people here that can help you if you're interested in trying to learn. But I struggle with it too. Discord's hard. Layla Bradley asks question: what's my mom like? Well, she's a scientist. She's really smart and logical, kind of human. She's beautiful. She's got short hair right now, and she just in the last, I want to say, year or two, had a house built and has been moving up in the company that she's in, and she's finally hitting terraces in life that I feel like she's always wanted to. She's conquering goals and conquering dreams. Now that she's got 15 plus years sober or something like that, she's doing really good. Thanks for asking. She's lovely. I do have some tattoos, sweet tea. I've got my dead friend's nickname right here over my heart, and I've got a sunflower for my first love on my back. Shout out, you know who you are. And I've got a goat head on my shoulder. And I got them all within a 3-month period. I got this one. And I always wanted tattoos, right? I always had these ideas, and I thought it was super cool. But to actually pull the trigger, my friend had to kill himself, which was pretty rough. But then I was like, all right, I'm actually going to do it. I'm gonna get Caius J tattooed on my heart. And then after that, I liked it so much, I went back and got two more pretty soon after. Um, and I haven't been back since. It's expensive, and I mean, what do these tattoos really do for me? I like them a lot, right? But am I going to go spend hundreds of dollars to get more? I don't know. I still, kind of dream about it and fantasize about it, but it's not on the priority list at all. SPTV Tattoo Warrior, good to see you. Good to see you, Stacy Sullivan. Cooking with Grandma. What's my favorite genre of music? I'd have to say metal for sure. Easy answer. And I do like a lot of different kinds of music, but I always come back to metal. I used to begrudgingly admit that metal was my favorite, but those days are in the past for sure. I love metal all day long. Listening to metal right now, actually. Mischief Manage asks, have you gotten to see Johnny's commercial yet? I have not. I have not. It looks like everybody pretty much got what they wanted out of my first two story times. You guys do have the jokes, though. You guys do have the jokes. Thank you for saying that, WP. WP said, I'm sorry for your friend. Me too. It's all right. He chose his path. So it is what it is. It is what it is. That is not a melee stick in the background, Ben Bacon Bits. That is my fire stick, and it's got a sock on it because the wicks are burnt, so they're sooty, and they'll get black marks all over my white walls. Layla Bradley says, don't get tattoos just to get them. Wait till they're meaningful. I totally agree. That's good. My comfort food. Crafty Witch asks about my comfort food. I wonder, probably pizza or cereal. Miranda Lee asks, have I struggled with addiction as well? I have. In fact, my first two videos were called Story Time, and I kind of told my story. I was kind of hoping that y'all would ask questions about my first two videos, but that's all right. If you want to hear my story through addiction, Miranda, go ahead and go back and watch those two. I'm going to jump into the meat and potatoes now, I think. We're going to get into these concepts. Thank you, everybody, for asking your questions. I appreciate you. Not yet. Brazy Girl asked about the plant shopping. It might be a little while before I go do that. And I don't know if everybody knows, but when y'all donate, I don't immediately get that. YouTube processes it and then sends it to me once a month. So it's not like I'm sitting on the dough you gave me for a plant. I promise. If that was the case, I would have multiple plants in here. I promise. So. I'm going to get the most majestic plants in here, Bracy Girl. I'm going to make you so proud. I can't wait. All right, so we've got today some key concepts, and we might bounce around a little bit because that's how my brain works. But I think I can stay pretty focused. I think we're going to get a lot done. So if you're like me and you're in recovery, you've spent some time in the depths of addiction, and now you're turning a new leaf. Probably having to relearn how to live. You're probably having to relearn and teach yourself pretty much everything. I know that my coping skills were non-existent when I had first got sober. They're still not where they should be for my age and for my level of maturity, I imagine. And the thing is, when we start engaging in addictive behaviors, when we are in addiction, what we're doing is not coping, regardless of what your situation is or what drug you're doing. If you have a drug addiction and you're active for a long period of time, you're going to not be coping with your problems. You're going to be using the drugs instead of that, right? So when you get sober, you are kind of frozen. at wherever you were with coping skills when you started using. So for me, that was probably 14 years old, 15 years old, when I started drinking. So when I got sober, I was probably the equivalent of a 15-year-old as far as coping skills go, because I had been not coping and running instead for however long, right? So I didn't learn anything. I didn't learn anything about coping. And that's a big one right out the gate. Right out the gate, um, freshly sober addicts are going to have trouble coping. And that's an essential skill, right? Our first reaction is going to be, let's go back to what we know, right? Let's take the pain away. But that doesn't seem like such a good idea once you realize that the drug isn't helping. It's hurting. It's making things far worse. And if you're here, you probably already know that. If you're freshly sober, if you're in recovery, you probably already know that part. So we're not going to spend time on that. But the coping skills are important. And how do we go about building coping skills? Well, I mean, it all starts within. You're going to spend a whole lot of time, and this is another reason we harp on journaling so much. You're going to spend a whole lot of time in your mind, and sometimes that's a bad thing. Sometimes that's a scary thing. When the ants, right? But when processing the root of our problems, why we feel the way we do, why we're using in the first place, when processing through trauma and emotions of such magnitude, you're going to spend quite a bit of time up here and probably in here too. And in doing so, that is a key. So that's a key skill in learning coping skills. Pay attention and stay present in the current moment, right? We talk about the past and the present and the future. Right now, in this moment, I'm doing a live stream. We're talking about some key concepts. So I'm gonna not think about what I'm gonna have for dinner afterwards, right? I'm not gonna think about what I was doing earlier and what I didn't get done and what's been bugging me, right? I'm just gonna focus on these key concepts that all these beautiful people right in front of me. We're having a conversation, and we have a common goal. I'm being in this present moment, and in doing so, I'm able to improve and act on things that are in this present moment. Let's say hypothetically, right now I'm triggered by something, and then my brain goes into like its old addictive mode or whatever, and I start thinking like, I need to get out of here. This is uncomfortable. Um, I didn't wash my face. I don't know, whatever. I'm focusing on all kinds of stuff, all little anxieties and stressors, right? What do I do? How do I cope with that? The first step is recognizing that you're triggered, or recognizing the path that your brain just took, right? And that's the hardest part of this the whole coping skills thing, is recognizing where you're at when it happens, right? Because it's not like alarm bells are going off necessarily. It's not like there's a siren and a big flash of light. Your brain just starts working differently. You just go into that mode, right? And I don't know if I can teach how to start recognizing that, but having the intent of recognizing and being in this present moment, and not letting my brain get away from me, right? Not letting myself wind up using, and then like having that moment like, what the heck did I do? How did I get here? Staying in control, present, making conscious decisions. Another, I think, good example is when we get sober, it's not like all of a sudden we don't know a bunch of drug dealers and people that we used to use with. Those people are still there. And if you're like me, you got a lot of love in your heart for the people that you used to use with, because those are your fucking friends, right? Pardon me, dang, I just did it. Anyways, those are your friends. Those are your friends. Or at least what you perceive as friends, right? They're the closest thing you've got to a friend, probably. So let's say I'll use a personal story. This is a great segue, because this is a good story. So when I started smoking crack, I was smoking crack with my barber, and it didn't like start out that way. I had a good friend that I had gotten sober with that would do my hair, and she always did my hair. She's my hair girl. I love her. Still love her to this day. Great lady. And at a certain point, it became unrealistic for her to keep doing my hair. And I also, she would do it for free a lot. She really like just did it for the love. Um, but anyways, it became unsustainable, and it just didn't become intelligent for us to keep having that arrangement. So her partner in crime, her business partner, Um, also does hair, right? Obviously, because they're in the barber business. I do not have a barber anymore and Hummingbird, but I probably am going to go get one, especially as this keeps coming. I don't know how long I can just ignore how crappy the sides look. Eventually, I'm going to have to need. I'm going to get some help. Anyway, where was I? So she, traded me off to the homie who also does hair, which incidentally was great for my hair because he was much better at the kind of hair. Because I was doing a full undercut at that time, so I had the long on top, but he was really good with the clippers and the fade and the shave, and he was just better with man hair, I think. So I ended up looking super fresh all the time, but he was a cool cat, so we would end up hanging out afterwards. I would just go down there to get a haircut and then, drink some beers with my buddy. But that turned into doing cocaine, and then that quickly turned into something I had never done before in my entire life. And honestly, I never thought that I would. Well, but we were smoking crack, right? So I get sober, fast forward. I still like to have nice hair, you know. It doesn't seem like a good idea for me to go and get my hair cut from the boy. That just seems like a no brainer. Like, don't do that, Michael. That's what. But let's say hypothetically, this is not what happened. But let's say hypothetically, I do. I'm going to be in a situation where my brain is definitely going to take that turn, that subtle turn we were talking about before. And if I don't have some immaculate coping skills, if I don't navigate my mind in that moment very, very well, I'm going to end up using, at the very least, I'm going to end up watching him use or something. You know what I mean? Like, which incidentally, did end up happening. I did bump into him a couple times after that. I was kind of avoiding him because it was painful. It was a good friend of mine, and I basically had to just cut him off cold turkey. And that hurts me because I don't like to treat people like that. But it was like in self defense, like. But anyways, you bump into him, and of course he didn't change. He's still out there slanging and banging. So very uncomfortable, very uncomfortable situations, but it's situations like those that make me very grateful for focusing on good coping skills. So recognizing the shift, recognizing the unhealthy thoughts is the first important thing. I'm seeing your super chats. I promise I'm going to go back and get them. I know I forgot some yesterday. I will not today. All right. I've got them all starred over here on the side. So you can call me whatever you'd like. Maybe we should keep Spanx, probably or Calhoun as the regular because it's not my real name. But I really don't care. I think it's inevitable that my name is. I mean, it's already out there, so I don't really mind either way. Whatever you think. Um, so recognizing, and then the rest of it's easy. Once you recognize what's going on, my go-to there's a number of ways to cope, right? My favorite coper is remove myself from the situation. And the reason it's my favorite, I'll tell you. Why is it my favorite, you might ask? I'll tell you. Because it's really easy. You just turn around and walk away. And the hardest part about that action is all mental. It's like pride gets in the way, this gets in the way, that gets in the way. Just save yourself because you're going to feel better. You're not going to be in the situation feeling emotional and crazy and anxious. You're going to be able to go handle it, just create a situation or a place that you can process it calmly, right? And create a safe space all of a sudden. That's my favorite, my go to. In relationships, if we were to apply this to rather not drugs, or not addiction, but to relationships, um, this one's not a popular one with the women in my experience. I remember many times where I attempted to walk away because I wasn't handling the situation very well and was chased down. You cannot walk away from me, kind of thing. We have to, and I don't know what the correlation there is, but I've had to explain on a number of occasions to women in my life that like this is how this is what I need to do right now, and we can totally come back and talk about this. But I can't think straight. I'm not calm. I'm kind of freaking out, and it's not gonna, I need to walk away right now so I can calm down. And I imagine if y'all try to employ the walk away method, you probably are going to inevitably one day have to explain to somebody why this is what needs to happen, which I think is ridiculous. But we all start somewhere. We all start somewhere. Yeah, being in the present moment is very important. That's one of the key parts of my sobriety and my recovery is staying present in the moment. Because if I'm posted up in the past mentally, or I'm just perpetually thinking about the future and where I want to be, which is good. I do want to visualize and have goals for the future. But if I'm always there, if my mind is never right here in this present moment, I can never get there. I can't affect my reality. I can't make changes if I'm not here to do so. Ooh, anger. Another thing. So I kind of goes hand in hand with coping skills is your emotions are probably going to be a little out of balance when you freshly get sober. And that's partly because the chemicals in your brain are out of balance. You are going to be out of balance. So you might find yourself experiencing intense emotions. I know that I have serious anger problems. I go 0 to 100 real quick. Y'all have all seen my dad get frustrated. I get frustrated just like that. It is exactly the same thing, exactly the same process. Um, and in the exact same timeline. You know what I mean? Y'all haven't seen me do that because I don't know why, but that's good. Anyways, the point is dealing, I guess, coping with intense emotions is going to be a hurdle that you're going to have to cross. And finding outlets for them is going to also be key. Exercise is huge because that's going to start rewiring your dopamine, your feel good, your brain that's not functioning the way that it should because you're not giving it the drugs that it was using to function, right? Anything that you can do like that. I shouldn't say that. The reason exercise is a great example is because it jump starts that process. It really assists in getting the body to produce the chemicals that it needs to. But that's not the only way to go about it. Some of you might not be too keen on doing exercise type deals. Journaling, right? Activities that support the processing of emotions and staying in the present moment. I think journaling is great. I think exercise is great. But also, like, just because it's working for me doesn't mean it's working for you. You're going to have to find what works for you. And maybe it's outside of the box. It doesn't matter what it is. But if it is bringing you out of your head and into the present moment, if it's a pastime that's going to serve your soul and your body and your mind, then that's great. But you're going to have to find some new hobbies, some new pastimes, and that's often the hardest thing because we're broken at this point. When we fresh get sober, we're broken. It's scary to go out there. All the places that I normally go, I don't really want to go anymore because they're not safe for me to be. But don't fret. It's also not a race. This is a marathon. We're not in a hurry to get anywhere. Anywhere is better than being down in the depths of my addiction, right? So I guess this is a good time to talk about gratitude. When the chips are down, I try to count the things that I'm grateful for. And I start to feel silly and redundant for saying all these things that I'm grateful for every time. It's like, okay, yeah, I got a house, whatever. It's like I got shelter and a family that loves me. Okay, what else do I got? It's like, wait a second, you have a family that loves you and you have shelter. You know what I mean? I think that every single one thing on the gratitude list is huge. Um, Reading and music, boom, right there. Music's a great emotional processor. Um, and I don't know, with that, I have to be careful because I'll end up putting myself in a nostalgic place, right? Certain songs will bring me back to a certain mindset. You don't want that to catch you by surprise, but music's great. I'm seeing lots of great suggestions actually in the comments. So y'all seem to get it. Y'all definitely seem to get it. And that also brings me back to something else. I have so many concepts to talk about. We're probably not going to get through it all today, right? But that's the whole point. So the connection, y'all. That's why we're here. Everyone here in the chat, everyone that's lurking and not saying anything, just everybody, period. Um, you can't do this alone. You gotta have people with you, around you. I know it's hard to trust and be vulnerable, and maybe you're not ready to do that. But I encourage every single one of you to say hello to your neighbor. When I say your neighbor, someone here, I don't know, or someone you can relate with. Make forge some connections so that you have connections, so that you have people to talk to, people to bounce ideas off of. If I'm having a crappy idea, or if I'm having an idea that seems really wild, I'll bounce it off my friend. You know what I mean? Because maybe I'm a little crazy. Sometimes my dad does the same thing, and I'm like, dude, are you on that experimental medicine again? you know. I feel like I'm getting a little derailed. Find your people, connect, say hello. Um, about 99.9% of the people on the boat are solid gold. I believe I was watching one of my dad's old lives today, and he said, "You people are the salt of the earth." I thought that was so cool. Y'all are the salt of the earth, so don't be shy. Say hello. This is a part of it. And through these connections, we create ripples. We've already seen a thorough rippling in our community, and I'm pretty stoked. And actually, I have a new idea. We're going to take a little break to talk about these ripples, and drink some coffee. Yeah, we don't bite. Life's good, says. I'm going to read these real quick. Not real quick, real slow. Miranda Lee, thank you so much. Sorry, I came over from Surviving the Survivor after seeing Tommy as a guest there. I'm not an addict, so I don't know if this new format is for me. No offense meant. And I apologize for being behind. No sweat, no sorries. And if it's not for you, that's all right too. I'm trying to get back to the core concepts of what we had when we started the Lifeboat, which is connection and anti-addiction. And it's not for everybody. There is quite a bit of heavy subject matter here. I'm kind of grazing over it right now. I definitely don't want to trigger anyone, but I appreciate your support so much. And I definitely, I support you. Will always be here. Janet G, thank you so much. Janet G says, my 1,000 day sober anniversary is next Friday. Oh, yeah, let's go. That's a big deal. At first, I was so happy and felt free. Only drank in my middle adult years. Sober guilt is killing me now. WRT, my kids. Killing me now with my kids, I imagine. I feel stuck in this stage. Advice on processing guilt. Well, I think right out the gate, it's good that you've got guilt and not shame. It's a subtle difference, but I don't know if y'all know the difference between guilt and shame. Guilt is I did a bad thing. Shame is I'm a bad person because I did this thing. You should never have shame. You should always try to, like, guilt happens for a reason, right? But you're not a bad person. You may have done something bad, right? But we all make mistakes and we learn from them. Now, as far as processing through that guilt, let's read this again. Again, big up on the 1,000 days sober. That's right out the gate. That's half the battle. You're killing it. That's a crazy amount of time. Congratulations. Sober guilt. Sober guilt, as in before you got sober, how you were with the kids, right? What you did do, what you didn't do, what you could have done better, kind of thing. Is that what we're talking about, Janet G? And sorry, we got a little behind on this. Type in the chat. Let me know if that's what we're talking about. I mean, I'm gonna just run with it. I think that is what you're talking about. If you're talking about dealing with the guilt of what you did under the influence. Oh, okay, yeah. sober guilt in that I wasn't 100% there for them when I drank between the hours of 9 p.m. and midnight. Well, I tell you what, you can't change the past. That's something that I always tell myself when I'm attempting to process through guilt from my past. I always open when I'm in my self dialogue. I always open with, "You can't change the past. It is what it is. It's done. Now I just have to accept that this is what has happened, right?" And once you're at acceptance, it doesn't necessarily feel better, right? Because now you're telling yourself, "This is what I did. This is real." But you have to admit to yourself that it's real. You have to accept it in order to process through it. And once that's done, I know in the 12-step programs they do uh, inventories. They take personal inventories, like these are the things that I've done wrong, and then they try to make amends. And they also, with the caveat with the amends, they say is if making amends, if apologizing, or I don't know if apologize is the right word. We'll stick with amends. But if making amends would hurt someone, don't do it, right? And if you can make amends in person, do so, right? But if you have to send a letter, if you have to, make a phone call or something like that, you can, right? But I remember making my amends, and that was one of the scariest things I ever did. And I find it hard to counsel people to do so, because it is such a subjective situation that you're going to end up putting yourself into. But you're talking about your children, so I don't know if you're journaling, Janet G, but if you are, and even if you're not, I would maybe sit down for like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. Don't put a time limit on it, but write down, like, journal about your guilt, journal about what you like, try to identify and write out this particular inventory of your sober guilt with your kids. I feel guilty because, I wasn't 100% there for my kids between 9 and midnight when I was drinking, right? Or whatever the case may be. That was just what you had said to me earlier. But write about it a little bit, organize your thoughts on it. And if it feels like you can have that conversation with them and be like, "Hey, I know that this doesn't change anything, but been thinking about this a lot, and I just want you to know how terrible I feel for XYZ, you know? And, you don't have to forgive me, but I just, I just wanted to tell you that I am sorry, and that if I could take it back, that I would. And if there's anything that I can do for you, if there's anything that I can do to make it right or to make it better or to help, just let me know and it's done." That kind of thing. Heartfelt, genuine. Um, but the key points there are, this is what happened. I feel terrible about it, right? Obviously, this isn't ideal. And what can I do to make it right? And if they don't have anything for you to make it right, so be it. If they don't accept your apology, so be it. But maybe they do. That's not the point. The point is that you made amends. Your side of the street is clean. Your heart, your conscience are going to feel that effect. They're going to feel that. And that's, I think, what I would counsel. That's how I personally process guilt. And if I ever, like, going back to staying in the present moment, if I ever realize that I just said something to somebody or did something, performed an action that I'm like realizing just now that what I had done made someone feel bad, or like was taken the wrong way, or like what I did stepped on someone's toes, I'll immediately like address it so that I don't have to find it later. So I don't have to like search through my heart soul and find this action from God knows when, so that I can get it off my conscience, because they don't go anywhere. It's kind of like bottling up emotions. If you don't process these things, if you don't let them these emotions wash over you like water, um, you hold on to them. They get stuck. Um, so don't be afraid to feel, even if it feels terrible. Sometimes you just need a good cry. And sometimes you just need to have a conversation with the person that you wronged. And sometimes that's not even possible. But recognize and identify what situation you're in, and if you still if I can still help you with this in any way, shoot me an email at sober@myyahoo.com. I'd love to help you with this if I can. All right, ripples. So the dream of the boat, the goal of the boat has always been connection. It's always been. Janet G says, thank you, Spanx and everyone. You have had that conversation. They're gracious and wonderful, 25 years old. I think journaling will help. I definitely have noticed shifting stages of thinking and recovery. Okay, well then I would also say this is all a process. It's just going to take time sometimes too, especially like, it sounds like this was a long period of time that we're talking about that you have guilt from, right? I mean, these things are not going to happen overnight, especially if we've just started addressing it recently since you've been a part of the code, right? So be patient with yourself and love yourself. And I think you got this. I've got major faith in you, Janet G. That's so cool that they're gracious and wonderful. I know that that's not necessarily always the case, but what a blessing. What a blessing. Heck yeah. I love that. Yes, it's the same email, Mara, sober@myyahoo.com, except I'm the proprietor now. I'm the proprietor. Got some proprietary stuff in there. I need to breathe more, said my dad. And I can tell I'm not breathing well enough while I speak. But anyways, so the goal of the boat, the connection, creating these ripples. Imagine if 24 hours a day there was a live happening on the lifeboat. No matter where you were in the world, what time it was, you're struggling, you can just get on the lifeboat and you're immediately with people, digitally, albeit, but with people that you can relate with. Immediate connection at your fingertips anytime. Now, doesn't that sound like an amazing concept? Because that lights my fire. And we've talked about this for a while, but it just didn't seem like realistic. We couldn't really see how it was done. But I had an idea today, and I think that we already have the capabilities to get maybe like 40% of that done today. We might be able to, have a lifeboat active for 40% of the day every day. And my idea was, bear with me here, the Lifeboat Studios. So we've got like 20K subs here, which is a pretty decent amount. And I love that every time I turn this on, people are waiting for me, ready to talk about recovery, ready to talk about what's going on in their lives, what we're planning on having for dinner, whatever. But we're connecting. We're in here. We're having a good time. We've created some ripples, some other channels that are kind of doing the same thing, channels that I'm big fans of, Conversations with Christy. I'm going to forget some, so please don't be mad. Needing a Meeting, Carol. And now I'm drawing a blank, but there's so many of you out there, and I love each and every one of you. And we all have the same mission. And I was thinking, if we all have the same mission, we can join forces in a way. Let's say one of these channels wanted to do a spot on the lifeboat, like an hour time slot, right? There's this thing we can do called simulcast. Let's say, and the reason this works well is because I don't know if I'm explaining this very well. I think you're with me. You can plug your channel all day long, and you can do your meeting or your show with a huge audience as well as your audience. So you end up gaining subscribers, and then we, as the Lifeboat, gain like more coverage. This dream of always having like a boat going to get on becomes real. We already have, how many ripples do we have? It's amazing. There's so many. I haven't even really done the math, right? But we can if any of you that have these channels want to do a time slot, get with me, email me, hit me up in the Discord. If you have my phone number, hit me up. Let's talk about it. Basically, all that I would have to do is you would just let me know, hey, I want to go live, and then I would just get on and press the button. You know what I mean? And then if you need anything, I'm there. But it's your show. It's your boat at that point. And the only rules I would have are the same rules that I would have with the boat. And really, I don't need to say that because all of these ripples are already like there are people, there are flavor, they're doing what we do. Like I don't have to worry about that at all. But we're not going to be having. I guess it is worth saying nobody will be doing time slots that's having vulgar language or like y'all know the rules. We've had the same rules for 3 years or however long it's been. So, but I think, do you guys think this is a great idea? I haven't looked at the chat yet because I've been like struggling to get this out. I'm like so excited. I'm like shaking a little bit. But what do you think? Like, yeah, Carol, all of y'all, Miss Dragon. I'm gonna. I wish I had the list in front of me so I could look intelligent because I swear I'm smart. But like Jen Marie, Yarn Prepper, I know all of y'all have your little things going. Let's get together. Let's make it real. Tara. How could I forget Tara smiling? Right. So it seems like you guys like this idea. And then what we can do also is we can advertise on the website, on the Discord, like when each person's going to be going, right? So like all the platforms that we have that are the Lifeboat are now at your disposal, right? So, and also this also reminds me, I've been meaning to update the Friends of the Boat list. I know in Discord it has been updated, but on the website it is archaic. All of those things are getting done. They're just taking time. Partly because it's like a passion project that me and Jake work on in our free time, but also partly because there's so many other things to do. Well said, Vixen. Well said. Vixen says the boat is big enough for all those who need help. Crewmates are here to welcome those with a good heart. Couldn't have said it better myself. Chow Yun Smut. See, another beautiful person I've forgotten. Awakened by the Looking Glass. Feel like I'm going to puke right now. I hope you don't vomit. Well, the poop deck needs swabbing. I'm glad you're here. Oh, what do we want a list of? Oh, I was talking about a list of channels, of rippled channels of all friends of the boat kind of thing, right? Because I was feeling unintelligent for not being able to remember all the friends of the boat. Blessed to crochet. I was trying to think of that one. Yeah, I hope you're feeling all right, Awakened. I don't know what's going on. Let me know if I need to know. I've got the list, Davey. I appreciate you. You're wonderful. You do so much. All right. Glad we got that out of the way. Yeah, let's talk about it. I have a lot of organizing and whatnot to do, and this is just going to be more. But this is like the dream. This is the future, I think, of the boat. And also on that note, we can do call-in shows in tandem. It'll be a little different. I still haven't figured out how to schedule a call-in show. I just have to like shotgun in. I just have to hit the button and boom, I'm live, which is unfortunate. But if you want to do a call-in show, we can also do that. Love. The default setting on this boat is love. Everybody love everybody. I guess we did talk about that the other day. And also, I want to say there are people in the chat. If there are people on the boat that are loaded, that's probably a good thing. It's good that they're here. You know what I mean? It's better that they're here than out somewhere else, right? So I don't ever want to see anybody getting on anybody. Like this isn't like a hierarchy. This isn't a there's always welcoming arms, right? And if you fall down and you want to get back up, we're gonna help you. You know what I mean? Like people are always welcome back. I just, and I'm not saying this, I haven't seen any negativity in the chat at all. You guys are wonderful. But something told me to mention the love and then mention getting loaded at the boat. It's like I'm not encouraging people to get loaded on the boat, but I'm not going to get on you about it. You know what I mean? I'm going to thank you for being here. I'm going to ask you how you're doing. You know, like we're going to have a conversation. It's no big deal. I would prefer that there's somebody loaded on the boat. That makes me feel like I'm doing something. You know? Do you ever feel like doing good versus doing bad has its own ripple in your life? Like when I do bad things happen to me. But if I do good things happen to me. Do y'all ever feel that way? Because I do. And I feel like there's something to that. It may not be able to be quantified. Thank you for saying so. I guess that is karma, isn't it? I forgot about that concept entirely. You know, and maybe we don't have to put a label on it, right? But just like I feel like since I've made the conscious decision to do good, my life has improved tenfold. Just out of hand. So I would encourage y'all to stay present and do good. Fear not. Do good and fear not. Izzy E says payout on the good usually takes a little longer, but it's there. That's funny. I agree. I agree. Maybe that's why things are getting really good right now. I've been trying for so long. Yeah, sometimes the good things bite me in the butt too, mischief managed. That's how I know I'm alive, though. And you know, Anne Hummingbird says, I do fear. It's okay to fear. That's part of what makes us human. You can't have courage without fear. I guess I should say, do good and don't let fear rule you, right? That's more accurate, I guess. We we just installed a new crane, actually. We hella just installed a new crane. I also am gonna start a interview series. I would like to interview Tara first. I think. I'm still getting all that together. Stay tuned. I believe I have an unread email from uh, from Christy, but I believe don't quote me because I like I said I haven't read that email yet, but I believe we're doing something on Wednesday over at Conversations with Christy. I guess today's Sunday. I'll make sure that I'm solid on it tomorrow. We can talk about it so everyone's knows what to expect. Um, and I think that's really all I had for everybody today, y'all. What do you guys think? Did I nail it? Carol at Needing a Meeting says, I got sober and bad stuff kept happening. I got honest, tried to get better. Still, things went south. And you know, sometimes things just suck and there's not a whole lot we can do except keep chugging. I'm sorry to hear that, Carol. I hope you're doing all right tonight. I'm glad to see you. I'm glad you're here. I love that term, recovering doormat. I'm glad you're doing better. I'm glad you're recovering, Izzy. Gonna make me blush, SPTV. You guys, I should start recording myself answering comments because sometimes I will just be cheesed grinning at the screen. Like some of the things y'all say just destroy me. Just turn me into a blubbering mess. That is my fire stick in the corner by the window. I've also got nunchucks on that table on top of the book. I know it's kind of fuzzy, not great quality, but there's a pair of nunchucks over there too. Cheshire Cat, I did not say hello to you today. Hey there. Lacey Silver, Shauna. I'm glad you guys are here. Well, I think I need to catch up on some sleep, y'all. I hope you don't mind if I cut it a little early tonight, because that's, I think, what's going to happen. Tony Zuder, I appreciate you saying that. You're doing so great. Chip off the old block. I appreciate that so much. I try. You know, I've always, as long as I could remember, my dad has been my hero. Even through all the stuff that went down, you know, I've always looked up to him. I always wanted to be like him. Not in like the bank robbery aspect, right? But as far as like how he carried himself, what kind of man he was, you know, who he was in here, I wanted that for myself always. And so stuff, comments like that really touched me. Spanks. All right, y'all. Love you. We'll get together again maybe tomorrow morning, huh? Huh? Have a good night, everyone. We'll see you later, all right? And I can't forget Valerie, member for 5 months. I'm glad to see your face around here again. I missed you for a little while. Love to you, Spanks, and the crew. Love right back at you. This is becoming quickly a beloved part of my routine, I tell you what. I guess it already was, but. All right, everyone. Do good. Don't let fear rule you. Make some connections.